Levent Üzümcü's ensemble are performing an historical comedy tonight. It's about an Ottoman sultan who tries to censor a theater group's performances. Similarities to present-day Turkey are intentional. The audience knows that the actors are walking a thin line. For the city authorities in Istanbul, Levent Üzümcü is a public enemy. In late August, he lost the job that he'd held for 25 years because he made a public speech and wrote on the internet criticizing the AKP government. He's pessimistic about freedom of expression in his cultural sector.
The people in charge of Istanbul's state-sponsored theater are slaves to authority. They decide on the repertoire even though they know nothing about theater. I've always expressed my opinion freely. I'm a well-known actor. Everyone knows I won't keep my mouth shut.
Now he can perform only with private theater groups. He knows he's relatively fortunate. Other people who criticized the government ended up in jail or were subjected to violence.
The play shows what it's like in today's Turkey. Most theaters have no freedom anymore. Cabaret artists and satirists in particular are being stripped of their creative freedom. The state does everything it can to impede their work. We're here to show solidarity.
A general election is scheduled for November, but there's little evidence of any campaigning. The government's zero-tolerance policy toward its critics and the recent terror attacks have deepened the rift between President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's opponents and his supporters. They refuse to listen to criticism of their leader.
Whatever the AKP does, it's right. It needs to regain its absolute majority. Everyone makes mistakes, including the government. The government's critics should take a look in the mirror and ask themselves if they're always right. A government should be treated with respect.
We head to the city of Edirne on the Bulgarian border, a traditional secular stronghold. Student Kadir Yavaş and his friends are getting ready for another anti-government protest, even though he's still haunted by what happened at the Rally for Peace and Democracy in Ankara on October the 10th. He was just a few meters away from where 2 bombs exploded, killing over 100 people.
There were body parts everywhere. We had to climb over them. We were in shock. We didn't understand what happened. Indirectly, the people responsible for this bloodbath are the same people who instigate fear and make out the country would be plunged into chaos if it weren't for them.
The 22-year-old has to be careful what he says. He was given an 11-month suspended sentence for insulting the president. His case made headlines across the country. He appeared before the judge in handcuffs for calling Erdogan a thief and a murderer.
I wanted to defend myself before the judge, but I'd spoken only 2 sentences when he cut me off. He said it was enough. He'd already decided how to sentence me. I had no idea the legal system in this country had gone downhill this badly.
Yavaş and his friends run a left-wing cultural center in Edirne. They say they can't even speak openly at university anymore.
All the professors are under pressure by the government. They pass on that pressure to us. We're increasingly restricted in what we can say.
Spiraling violence, growing repression. Young democratic thinkers like Kadir Yavaş are swimming against the tide, even though they could end up paying a high price. Back in the Istanbul theater, the Sultan has been outwitted, and the ensemble performed the play. Levent Üzümcü has appealed against his dismissal and is willing to take his case to the Supreme Court if he has to. The Ankara bombings have made him even more determined to fight for the future of his country.
Şimdi devleti suçlayanlar
Once again, they blame the people who criticize the government, and the state is not to blame. It can't go on like this. The government just sits back and says it did what it could to protect the demonstrators. But it didn't.
Democratic thinkers like Levent Üzümcü are preparing for the long haul. The curtain will not be falling on the AKP anytime soon.